have you ever felt like there just isn't a clear roadmap of what to focus on to get better at math rock guitar? Well, you're not alone, because I've helped countless guitarists who faced this exact challenge. And that's why I've simplified the process into a system of 7 key skills to speed up your progress. So in this video, you'll discover what these 7 skills are, how to master each to blow up your progress, and grab a free downloadable guide that makes the whole process a breeze. And it works like this. I've named the system I.M.P.R.O.V.E to help you remember it. To start, we have the letter I, and this gives us a powerful skill I wish I'd learned sooner because it helped me write one of my favourite songs. I've been playing math rock guitar, a style known for its intricate rhythms and its creative guitar techniques, for over a decade. Yet, for the longest time, I avoided exploring alternate tunings, a staple of math rock, and every time I tried something like FACGCE, it felt like my guitar just transformed into a completely different instrument, and I'd find myself quickly retreating back to standard tuning. But determined to crack the code, I learned some of my favourite alternate tuning songs, but all I took away was some random chord shapes with no idea how they actually worked. Honestly, I felt completely lost at that time. Then one day, while I was out for a walk, it hit me. I was skipping the most obvious step. What do beginners do when learning guitar? Well, they start with simple open chords and scales. So why wasn't I applying this beginner's mindset to alternate tunings? Excited by this realization, I sat down, mapped out some basic chord shapes and a simple major scale pattern to connect them all. And suddenly, almost effortlessly, I would say, a brand new song flowed out with me, and it became one of my absolute favourites, and it's a song I named Stride. But what exactly are these chords and that scale shape? And how can you use them yourself? Well, I've put together a short, easy to follow guide that gives you all of the essential chords, and it will give you that essential scale to start playing in these popular alternate tunings used in math rock. And you can grab that by using the link in the description at the end of this video. Now it's time to move on to the next essential skill in the I.M.P.R.O.V.E system. Mastering the basics of odd time signatures, where I'll show you a simple trick that makes odd time feel as natural as playing in 4/4 time. Most music is in common time, which is usually consisting of 4 big blocks like so, and you're going to count it 1, 2, 3, 4, and that just keeps repeating over and over again. So when we introduce an odd time signature, we're going to simply add one more block like so, and now we have something called 5/4, so we're going to count in 5s instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just by adding that extra block, it feels a little odd, hence the name, because we can't divide this time signature equally divisible into, groups of 2 or groups of 3, and that's why we would call it an odd time signature. So for more advanced time signatures, such as 5/8, we simply take this, and now we're going to half it. So instead of having the 4, we're now going to have something called 5/8. So I just want you to think of it simply as the beat has been halved. And the tempo tends to be quicker because now the count is half, but it's the exact same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're gonna keep repeating that over and over again. But the trick a lot of the time with these more advanced odd time signatures is to actually do something like this. Is to have a grouping like so. So we've still got 5/8, but now we've divided it into a group of 3 and a group of 2. And we can accent the start of each of these groupings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we have something to latch onto when we are trying to write a groove, or if you listen to a song that's in odd time, you'll find that in the odd time signature, there is some kind of subdivision like this. Now that you've seen how odd time signatures can work, the next step is to apply them naturally in your playing. But how do you do that? Well, let me show you a method that makes mastering the basics of odd time signatures feel as easy as playing in 4/4 time. First, what do you notice about all of these time signatures you're seeing on screen? Well, there are all ways of subdividing odd time signatures. And I find by emphasizing these beats, we can quickly learn how to start playing and writing in odd time. For example, in 5/8 time, we could have a count of 3 and a count of 2, and we can play on those beats. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you could also arpeggiate the chord and then accent that 1 and that 4 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could accent a strumming pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the downloadable guide, I've provided you with many more subdivisions that have you playing in odd time just as comfortably as you do in 4/4 time in no time. That brings us on to the P in our I.M.P.R.O.V.E system. And if you ever felt like your riffs are somewhat stiff or predictable, then this skill will unlock faster, more fluid playing for you. So what's the difference between these 3 examples? And I want you to pay close attention to the picking hand to spot them. At first glance, the differences seem obvious, right? One uses a pick and fingers, and the other one just uses fingers. However, which is a best approach for math rock? Well, here's the good news. You don't need to master all of them, but if you want to write faster, more fluid riffs, especially when skipping between strings, fingerpicking technique is a game changer. Even learning just the basics will give you way more freedom to move around the fretboard, just like in this example. So how do you get started? Well, the best part is you only need to focus on your picking hand for now. So first, you're going to rest your palm comfortably on your bridge like so. And then you're going to poise your fingers that they're taking care of a string each. And in this exercise, you're going to pick using your thumb on the A string, open like so, and then the next string with your index finger. Then you're going to come back down to your thumb. Then you're going to jump to your middle finger, like so. Back to your thumb, then to your ring finger, back again, and then your little finger. So you can think of it as walking up a step, taking a step back, but each time you do it, you are stepping up one step higher. And then it will sound like this. And you're just going to keep repeating that, and you can even go backwards. I've also included a whole bunch of extra fingerpicking exercises just to make sure you have the basics down in no time, and those are in the guide for you. But here's the thing, learning fingerpicking is only half the battle. Let's move on to our next letter R, which I'll show you how to make your playing glide smoothly across the fretboard. To play smoothly is referred to as legato style playing, and think of legato playing as speaking smoothly. If your words are choppy and disconnected, and you're umming and ahhing all the time, people struggle to follow your message. But when your words flow naturally, your message becomes clear and engaging. Legato guitar playing works exactly the same way. And to achieve this smoothness, your hands need to learn how to talk clearly to each other on the fretboard. But how exactly can we train our hands to communicate fluently? Well, you'll need to refine your legato playing by developing strength, consistency and flow in your hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides and bends, the main skills of legato playing. And the good news is you can start right now by copying this exercise I use with students. So first we're going to cycle between the 7th, 9th and 11th frets here. And you want to aim for consistency and aim for the same volumes in your tapping. And then what you're going to do after the first repeat, you're going to tap the same again, but instead of using your little finger, you're going to go to the 10th fret with your ring finger. Which brings us on to our next letter in the I.M.P.R.O.V.E System, O. And this one can make or break your songwriting. When I wrote songs for my band, I used to resist feedback because I thought it would ruin my ideas. Anytime someone suggested a small change, my ego kicked in and I tell myself, they don't get it, they're wrong, and I refuse to adjust anything. But here's the thing, when I played live or listened back to those recordings, I felt like something was off. And I kept second guessing my songs I wrote, but by then it was too late to fix it. This cycle held back my music for years until I embraced collaboration. Once I opened myself up to outside input, something clicked. Small tweaks led to huge improvements. And now when I hear earlier versions of my songs, I just cringe at my stubbornness. So don't make the same mistakes as me. And if you want your music to reach its full potential, you need to open your mind to new ideas. But how exactly do you do that? Well, there's an easy way to get helpful feedback without feeling lost or it feeling overwhelming. Let me show you how. Have you ever looked at a painting up close, only to step back to realize it looks completely different? That's exactly what happens when you write music in isolation. You're too close to your ideas to see the bigger picture. And that's why asking for feedback in the right way is so important. But instead of asking vague questions like, is this song good or is this part good? Try asking more specific ones like, do these two sections transition smoothly? Is this idea sounding a bit too repetitive? Does this part sound too complex? How do you beat Promise Consort Radahn in the Elden Ring DLC? You might want to leave that last one out. That's a question for me. The key is to trust your instincts and use the feedback to refine your ideas, not to lose control of them. Now that you know to stay open to new ideas, let's move on to the next letter in the I.M.P.R.O.V.E System, V, where I'll show you how to take the guesswork out of applying music theory to math rock. I once helped a guitarist that felt like they had to master music theory before they could even start writing their own math rock songs. So I asked them, what do you think this means? What do you think you need to learn? And they said things like, I need to understand modes, secondary dominance, modal interchange, voice leading. The list went on of all of these advanced theory concepts. So I asked them, could you name all of the chords in the C major scale and build a simple chord progression from them? Well, they paused and admitted they never really even tried to do that. You see, the problem is that many guitarists believe they need to master advanced complex theory concepts before they can begin to write. But the reality is 90% of math rock, in my experience, comes from just knowing keys and chords built from each scale degree in a key. But what do you need to learn exactly? Well, let me show you how to visualize basic theory in action so you can start writing your own math rock style songs. First, you need to know your key. Each key has 7 notes which form a scale. So let's take C major as an example here. Once you know the notes in a key, you have a starting point for building chords and melodies. Next, let's build chords from this scale. Every key follows the same pattern of major, minor, and diminished chords. And in a major key, it would follow this format. But the best part, once you understand this in one key, you can apply it to any key. And this is the foundational knowledge for writing chord progressions. Now, let's take this theory and actually turn it into music. I can just experiment with different chords built from this key. And here's an example of a simple progression built from the 1st, 4th, and 2nd notes of the key of C major. So we got our 1, C, our 4, F major, and our 2nd, D minor. Well, we have a progression, but I'm sure you'll agree, it doesn't sound very math rock or emo, right? So all you need to do is experiment with the common chord types used in math rock and use them to replace the chords in this progression. And good news is for you, I've included a whole bunch of them in that guide for you. So using that same progression, I could play the chords like this instead. Of course, theory is just one piece of this puzzle. Up next, we're talking about the last letter in the I.M.P.R.O.V.E system, where I'll show you how a small, simple tweak to your tapping technique can instantly improve your playing. So, what's the difference between these two tapping examples? Hear the difference? Well, one sounds messy and noisy, while the other is tight and more clear. So if your tapping sounds messy, it's usually because you've got unwanted strings keep ringing out and it's muddying up your playing. This extra noise happens when your hands aren't effectively muting strings, letting these vibrations and open strings spill over into your playing. So what's the secret to effective muting? Well, here's a simple exercise I love using with my students that'll get your tapping sounding clean and precise in no time. All you need to solve 99% of muting problems is to use the palm of your picking hand to rest on these top strings here to take care of anything that's above what you tap, and use the underside of your index finger to take care of anything that's below what you're tapping. So in this exercise, I'm going to tap 3, 5, 7 on the low E string there. And as I tap, I'm lightly leaning the underside of my index finger on these strings to make sure they're muted. And now I'm going to introduce a bit of string skipping to make this slightly more challenging. And I'm going to skip over to the D string and I'm going to tap 4, 5, 7. So as I'm skipping over to this D string, this leaves these two strings potentially ringing. So what I'm going to do is use the top side of my index as I tap on to mute this string here, and my palm here is going to take care of the E string, like so. And then I'm going to come back to the A string, 3, 5, 7 again, and again I'm using here and my palm to mute this E string when I tap on the A string here. And then I'm going to jump over to the G string for more string skipping, and 4, 5, 7 again. And I find this exercise is a great way to practice effective muting. So here's the whole thing. The thing is, even though you now know what each letter in the I.M.P.R.O.V.E system means and the skills that help you speed up your progress, it'll all be for nothing if you don't apply this to songwriting. But how do you do that? Well, watch this video here where I demonstrate how to turn one idea into a complete math rock song. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks to the Patreon that support this channel. See you next time.